It's an absolute myth to believe that once trust is broken, that's the death of a relationship. Every good relationship ruptures. We wound each other. It's just part of life. But the important part is how to repair when that happens. Offering an authentic apology requires careful consideration as to how we deliver it. When we just offer, I'm sorry, there's not a lot of substance to it. When we refuse to apologize altogether, we set our partner up to feel abandoned in their pain and invalidated as a human with feelings.
Let's talk about rebuilding trust, especially after betrayal. Once trust is broken, the building of trust is different. Now it becomes more about emotional safety, a new track record of consistency. Have you ever longed to be able to talk about values and morals or faith and spirituality without feeling judged? Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Mindful Moments, Insights to Empower the Soul. This podcast will empower you to embrace your true self. Hello, and welcome to our podcast. We are so glad you're here. I am Dr. Debi Gilmore, and we are marriage and family therapists who care so much about values, morals, spirituality, and principles of a healthy relationship with self, others, and God.
Hi, and I'm Sharilyn Green, and I am so excited about the topic we're discussing today, Debbie. It's such an important one in relationships, critical actually. We know that trust is not a fixed trait in a relationship. This is so important. It's a living system, right? That can be damaged, can be repaired, and hopefully strengthened over time. So we know, especially as therapists, when trust is broken, that rupture can feel, overwhelmingly painful, certainly destabilizing in a relationship. But, so happy to know it doesn't have to be permanent.
It doesn't. And what we hope people that are listening that actually have felt betrayed or crushed in their ability to trust their partner, we want you to know that it is indeed possible to rebuild trust. It takes a journey and a lot of work, but we want to reinstill hope. Yes, but once trust has been broken, it's different. And we'll talk about what it really is. But basically, the difference between having trust early in a relationship where there's been no rupture, it is trust. It's building trust. But new trust is actually building greater emotional safety and transparency, which then rebuilds the process of trust. Okay, so we're going to try to clarify all of that. But what restores trust is not perfection. Perfection isn't possible, but it's the building of a new track record. So this means steady, repeated practice of the basics: honesty, accountability, emotional presence, and follow through. So using the word repair, let's talk about that. Repair done with sincerity, with empathy, and consistency with behavioral change, that indeed does create a deeper sense of safety than existed even before the breach of trust. It creates better humans when we walk through a repair process. With consistency, you're going to hear us use this term all the time throughout this podcast. With consistency and practice, trust becomes stronger, not because nothing ever went wrong. We are human, but because both people learned they can navigate difficulty together and emerge more connected than ever before.
We want to point out that it's an absolute myth to believe that once trust is broken, that's the death of a relationship. That's just not true. And as you've described, Debbie, the reality is when the right steps are taken and a correct process is followed, the rebuilding of trust can be rewarding, security building, and life-changing for those in the relationship. I love thinking about there are steps, right, that have to happen though. We can't skip steps. I've learned that so much in the therapy process that we can't skip steps. When we follow that process, it's certainly not true that the relationship is dead in any way. So yeah, let's keep talking about some of the basics of this. So trust breaks when there is inconsistency, the opposite of the word you've used so much already, dishonesty, disconnection, disrespect, self-protection, that's a big one, or a lack of repair. I guess I like that word self-protection. So often we do that. There's no malice in it. It's just we're wounded in life and we do things to self-protect, but sometimes the things that we do break trust in our partner. It can build when there is, like you say, consistency, transparency. That's such an important word. Responsiveness. When we respond to our partners, when we are accountable or respectful, and there's a shared vulnerability between us. So it's helpful if we can review some of the things that break down security and trust. Some of these things are actually subtle and almost implicit.
Yes, that's right. And it's interesting to note how much trust comes up in our work with helping couples conquer their cycle that keeps them stuck and disconnected. So it really is helpful first to identify what are those things that we might be doing and maybe not even recognize that we're doing them, the things that break trust or prevent the rebuilding of trust. Repeated disconnection. It means during conflict, withdrawing, shutting down, not showing up emotionally sends the message to our partner, you're not safe with me when it matters. I'm not going to show up and be there for you. Consistency, saying one thing, doing another. Unpredictable communication or unpredictable availability. Promises that are either forgotten or minimized. These send the partner the message, you just can't rely on me. Don't count on me.
Yeah, to keep adding to your list, another one is dishonesty. So anytime there's lying or hiding, going underground with things, twisting, or I like to use the word bending the truth, that breaks trust. Omissions that actually feel later like betrayals, or minimizing harm or deflecting responsibility or accountability, for things. So we start to rationalize and tell ourselves if they don't know about it, they won't get hurt. Or if this gets out, they will never forgive me, or thinking that some infractions are so small and insignificant that it doesn't merit sharing with our partner. But any lack of transparency or keeping secrets or omissions of truth, first and foremost for ourselves, they're heavy burdens to carry, right? Just alone. There's such a freedom in the sense of transparency. It's not heavy, it's light, right? And when we carry these burdens, it's heavy when we're doing those things. So the sad part is once the partner learns about the event or the behaviors, the message we send is, I'm actually not giving you reality so that you can make informed decisions about things.
Yeah, I would love to talk to that because when we're working with people who have experienced a betrayal, what they don't understand is when that is brought to their partner, when the partner doesn't find out, but instead it is brought to the other, that is empowering the relationship from square one, even though it's a shock and it shatters the trust initially. It's the new beginning by just saying, I need to share something with you. And what we want to avoid is the trickle effect, where you share a little bit of the fact and then you come in with another one the next day. It's just re-traumatizing. It takes courage to be honest, but truly it is the medicine to begin that repair.
Yeah, that is so scary. So yeah, I really appreciate you talking more about that. So another thing, disrespect. That's critical. So dismissing someone's feelings, mocking or belittling them, or violating boundaries. Those things cause us to send the message of disrespect. It's actually interesting to see how many couples we see that say they long to be respected by their partner. That might be one of the most common things we hear, right? It's, I long to be respected by you. And so anytime these kinds of behaviors that create disrespect are felt, it causes some actually really interesting, sad things. It causes embarrassment. It causes levels of shame and an even stronger message that we're not valued. So this signals your humanity doesn't matter enough here, which is heartbreaking to think about.
Yes. And again, these might be subtleties that we don't recognize we're doing, or we've rationalized for so long that we're stuck in those patterns or tendencies to just cover. We talked a minute ago about self-protection over protecting the relationship. When we defend ourselves or when we shift the blame to our partner or refuse to repair altogether, refuse to be accountable, all those things, it's because we can't seem to muster up humility to be able to own our mistake. But Defensiveness is one of Dr. John Gottman's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The 4 things that he identified brings people to a divorce, actually, the ultimate end to the relationship. He actually found that defensiveness is one of the elements of couple conflict that can eventually destroy the relationship and lead to even just emotional divorce. So when we lead out with defensiveness, we're not listening to our partner. We're creating our own comeback. We're working to toss aside the other's feelings. Whether we see it or not, that's what's happening. Defensiveness backfires and it becomes fuel for even greater conflict and disconnection. As the tension escalates, both parties become emotionally flooded. Defensiveness or a refusal to repair, a refusal to be accountable. Here's an example. I'm more interested in being right than being connected.
Back to those self-protective behaviors, we do this sometimes. It's too painful to look at, sometimes ourselves, the shame sometimes we feel. And so I love that you said sometimes we don't even recognize that we're doing this. They've been patterns in our lives, really survival patterns so long that we don't recognize. So I love that we're talking about this and bringing awareness to this process. So another thing is just the lack of repair. As we've said again and again, every good relationship ruptures. We wound each other. It's just part of life. But the important part is how to repair when that happens. So trust erodes and there's no apology, there's no empathy, and especially no follow through on change. We say again and again, every human is prone to make mistakes, whether large or small. But offering an authentic apology requires careful consideration as to how we deliver it. So, a sincere message of regret might sound like, I'm so sad I hurt you. What is it I can do to help you heal? And we just offer, I'm sorry, which we all do a lot of times. It's a simple phrase, but there's not a lot of substance to it. And so when we refuse to apologize altogether, we set our partner up to feel abandoned in their pain, devalued as a part of the relationship, and invalidated as a human with feelings. And we send the signal and the message, you're on your own after harm happens.
And we don't intend to send that message, but we are, just by refusing to own and apologize in the appropriate way. Yeah, I think of, well, I'm sorry. I already told you I'm sorry. Well, the apology hasn't happened yet, and more damage has happened. So let's talk about rebuilding trust, especially after betrayal or a huge relationship injury. That means a significant moment in time when we perceive that our partner was not there for us when we needed them most. Once trust is broken, the building of trust is different. Now, as I said earlier, it becomes more about emotional safety, a new track record of consistency. So, what builds trust? Consistency and reliability. Trust grows when someone's actions match their words over time, not just once. And be careful, because as you're building that track record, you want to do your absolute best to make sure that each time you do your best to follow your words. One of the most important ways we can build or repair trust is to follow through with promises. I think about just helping children learn to be obedient. When we say, look, I'm not going to allow you to be with your friends tomorrow if you don't come home on time today. And then we come back and say, oh, never mind, it's okay. What has the child learned? They've learned that they can't trust that we're going to hold to the consequence. And so over time, as we consistently show up and are reliable in completing tasks we agreed to do, the relationship is strengthened, empowered, and those with whom we have made the commitment are conditioned to just know they can rely on us. So predictability in words and behaviors, being a woman of my word, a man of his word, is empowering for the security and emotional safety of the relationship. If you show up when you say you will, it's an implicit, unspoken trust that develops, such that eventually our partner doesn't even have to wonder. They just know. In fact, it's actually a really good sign when someone has committed to something and when they don't follow through once, and the partner can say, well, that's not like them. something must be wrong.
Yeah, wow, I like that a lot. Reliability also means, Debbie, keeping promises, even small ones. Just as you just talked about, we have to be so consistent and reliable. It's important actually also to be consistent in our moods and our reactions. When those are unpredictable, trust is fragile, right? But when they're predictable, when our partners can count on our moods and our reactions to be consistent, then trust is reinforced. And so even though it's difficult to remain calm during stressful times, it's important to manage escalated emotions so that you can claim them and own them when you're upset and be consistent as possible in those times for your partner so that trust can build. So, the bottom line is with consistency and reliability, we actually send the message again and again and again. So many small micro moments of this that you can count on me. And, our brains love patterns. We know that. And so this consistency, it soothes our brain. It makes us feel safe. Another thing that's important is this no secrets, to be totally transparent and honest. That's something we talk about a lot in our work, isn't it?
Mhm.
How we model as best we can transparency and honesty because we know that the safest and most secure relationships include transparency in this policy of no secrets. Open communication must be the norm. And that includes being upfront and clear about intentions, expectations, changes, or even mistakes. So, lots of different scenarios where it's so important to be upfront and clear about all of that. And all of those things increase transparency and honesty in our relationships and ultimately build trust.
Yes, and it might be important right now to talk about that no secrets policy doesn't mean being the cop that checks the other's phone consistently. Because here's what happens then you can't build trust. You're only checking and rechecking and worried. It's not building this confidence that transparency is happening. So, what we want to be able to do, what we tell couples if there's been a betrayal, for example, an emotional or sexual affair, what we suggest to the partner, the offending partner, we say, be willing to have your phone or your passwords available. But the partner that has been hurt can't be in charge of checking. They have to be able to just know that any question they ask will be answered. But this interrogation process, we encourage couples to move away from that and more into equal sharing and that level of transparency they just know. It takes courage to share our honest thoughts and feelings, to be open and transparent, to not carry secrets. But when we manage our emotions during that sharing and use self regulation and even with couples co regulation, it makes the open communication much safer and less threatening. So the transparency becomes a pattern. And when honesty is a pattern, I have nothing to hide, and you can trust that there are no secrets. People trust those who tell the truth kindly and without threats. People trust those who admit their mistakes and take ownership of the times that they might have hurt someone. I have such respect for others who have actually come to me and said, I am so sorry. I think I hurt your feelings. And I think, wow, that took courage. You actually didn't hurt my feelings, but I'm so grateful that you came to me. Another important distinction about honesty is to not distort information. Omission of information is not honesty. This means not downplaying or exaggerating facts. The bottom line, it's human to make mistakes. How many times have we said that today? And people value and trust honesty more than perfection. This conveys the message when I cause harm, I take responsibility and I make it right.
Yeah, so we love this word empathetic responsiveness. And what that means is that we respond with acceptance or validation of someone's experience, even when something's difficult to hear. So, in difficult conversations, this means, like you've said, listening without defensiveness and demonstrating a willingness to be emotionally available. That sends the really powerful message that your inner world matters to me. So we tend to trust people who treat our feelings as valid and with respect. We need to be able to feel how we feel, right? To feel it. It's okay. And to know that's okay that we feel the way that we do.
As I think about this, we're talking about the ideal. We do struggle. We need wiggle room to get it wrong. But what I suggest to couples is that they listen to this podcast together so that both are aware of this new way of doing the relationship, so that you can both agree, yes, we need to do better about allowing each other to have these feelings, to feel what we feel and have it be okay. So it takes practice incrementally. It takes understanding what are the steps. Here's another one. Listening without dismissing is actually a gift we give our partner and sets up the conversation to be much safer and much more productive. So we have to try to understand the other's perspective. And the most respectful thing is to say, wait, I think I misunderstand. Can you help me? Help me understand better. Responding with warmth, with acceptance, and not judgment is hard. I'm just going to sit on that one for a minute. To be able to hear something difficult, even you hurt me and I need your help, that's difficult. But if we approach a challenging conversation with this goal, we want to repair, we will achieve much greater collaboration and instantly build new trust, a new track record. The expression of empathy and compassion creates a sense of emotional safety. Empathy is feeling with someone, not feeling for someone. And compassion is the urgency or compelling desire to do something about it. Trust deepens quickly when those are present. Now, competence in emotional awareness. We're experts in this, Sharilyn. This is what we do. We are very aware of emotion because that's what we deal with every day. Emotion is the catalyst for change in our work. So, what we encourage people that are not really emotionally aware to become emotionally aware. Notice how you feel. Talk about how you feel. We tend to trust people who are emotionally aware and willing to co-regulate emotion in the interactions of the relationship, even when it gets hard, sending the message, this relationship matters. So what we want to do is maybe even say, I'm feeling distressed right now. Can I take a minute? I want to take a deep breath. I want to take 10 minutes and gather my senses, and then can we come back? But both parties feel more secure when they know each are co-regulating and each are actively working to manage their feelings. Even if you don't know what label to put on what you're experiencing, you can say, my chest is tight, my stomach feels sick, I need a minute, because that's going to keep us from attacking or criticizing our partner.
Another thing to think about as we're talking about this together is that vulnerability and mutual sharing of thoughts and feelings is another thing that builds and maintains trust. So disclosure of personal information instantly changes a relationship. Trust will grow when both people open up kind of piece by piece with an equal sharing. Equal listening is an important part of this disclosure. It means sharing personal thoughts and fears without worrying that our thoughts and fears will be used against us. I met with a couple last week. We had a beautiful session and this started to happen. And I could see something on the wife's face and I paused for a minute and I said, hey, I see something on your face. Tell me what you're thinking. She said, this feels different. Something's different right now. And they both agreed it would be so wonderful to have more of this. And so as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about in action what I saw last week and how rewarding it was. So talking about hopes, insecurities, and doubts will actually deepen the relationship. Allowing someone to see our real self brings the relationship to a new level. Yeah, just that vulnerability that adds such deep connection. And that doesn't mean to overshare, right? It has to be within reason, but just gradually letting someone in.
This idea of self-disclosure is important. And I'm glad that we're talking about it right now, because when we self-disclose to someone, it changes the relationship. And that means opening up about something and then inviting your partner or a loved one to do the same. That reciprocal sharing changes the relationship. It deepens it. Doing this gradually and consistently opens the door to further safer sharing throughout the life of the relationship. That means start today. Share something that might feel a little risky and vulnerable, but this process helps build secure attachment through mutual openness. Ultimately, what we're conveying to our partner is we can be real. I'm okay with being real with you. I want you to be real with me, and we will feel safer as we share more. Now, this term boundaries is often misunderstood. We've talked about it before in our earlier podcasts, but boundaries and respect, that means honoring limits, doesn't mean limiting closeness. So boundaries actually do protect the relationship by allowing each person, it sets the other up for success. Each one understands there are preferences, individuality, and differences, and that's okay. You're sending the message, you are safe. I see you. I respect you in these boundaries that you have set. I want you to feel it's okay to have preferences and differences.
People trust others that respect our personal space, right?
Hmm.
Means that we don't push or pressure other people to go beyond, where they feel comfortable. So one aspect of boundaries that's especially difficult for most people is being able to say no or accept a no without fear of punishment. So setting and honoring these boundaries shows that you value yours and their autonomy. So fairness and good intentions build trust. We trust people when we believe they want good things for us. When we can believe that they're not trying to take unfair advantage of us, our trust for them deepens. It's safe, right? We feel secure that they have our best interests at heart. So there's not hints of hidden motives and things. Good intentions that we offer others or feel from others often matter way more than just perfect actions. I just love that.
Yeah, I'm feeling it's important for us to stress that this takes time and patience. Building trust really does mean slowing it down. Trust grows like a plant, small, steady, and through repeated experiences, not grand gestures. People usually build trust in others through a mix of consistent behavior, a little emotional signals of safety, and shared experience. Here's a clear breakdown of what actually creates trust in real life. When trust has been genuinely restored, relationships feel steadier. They feel more grounded and more honest than they did before the rupture. This is really, it's almost as if a miracle happened where you believed initially there's no way we will heal. There's usually a deeper sense of emotional safety, not because everything is perfect, but because both people have seen what repair looks like, have felt what repair looks like, and know they can survive hard moments together. Think about this. It means when there are future bumps in the road, the couple just knows, you know what? We can do this holding hands because we have done this before. It truly changes the relationship.
Yeah, the confidence of that, of knowing if this comes again, we know what to do now. I agree. It makes it so much stronger. So some of the things that will feel like when this happens is that communication becomes more open and less defensive. Vulnerability is easier. We don't worry so much about risking it, right? We feel safe to be vulnerable. Our boundaries become clearer. Our follow through is more consistent. And I love this word. There's a quiet confidence in the relationship. You can feel it. There's this quiet confidence, a sense of, we've been tested and we know how to come back to each other and we know how to find each other again. Repaired relationships tend to carry a new layer of maturity, empathy, and resilience as both people understand more fully kind of what they need from each other and what we have to do to stay connected and to build this priceless trust we've talked about today that are vital in our closest relationships and actually in all of our relationships.
This is so powerful. I just love what we've covered, and it's a lot of material. But now we're at the point where we say, therefore, what? And I love asking this question because it can be personally applied for me. I need to continue to assess myself and say, how am I doing in all these areas? But I think today, My therefore what is to encourage any couples out there, any person out there that believes it's not possible to rebuild trust after it's been broken or to build trust if it's a new relationship. I want you to know that through the years and years of working with couples who have experienced severe betrayal, you can repair. It is a journey and it takes time, but with commitment, and when your partner understands the steps as well, and you both mutually commit to this repair, yes, you can experience the miracles that we've described today.
I love that. My therefore what, I guess what I've thought about through this whole thing is it is so wonderful when both people understand that, but it doesn't have to be that way. Even if we understand that in the beginning, sometimes we get into cycles and patterns where we're reacting to the other person, to maybe their lack of trust or our lack of trust in them. I love the idea that we can empower ourselves to, no matter what, we're not reacting, we're responding with our own levels of consistency, all of the things that we've talked about. So I like the idea that it makes me feel in control, that I can always control how I respond, no matter what's happening in my relationships, with the powerful principles we've talked about today of consistency, regulation, transparency, all those things I own and control completely in all my relationships. And I think that's what I'm going to be more consistent about in my thoughts as I go forward.
I want to add just one thing. I love what you said, this personal commitment to be more aware. I do want to point out that the things that we talked about today are important for people that are seeking a companion to be able to look through these and look for consistencies, because that's a scary journey. It can be. And we're asked all the time, how do we find the perfect companion? Well, they don't exist. I'm so sorry. But if in the foundation of the relationship there is trust, consistency to build that trust, that creates a healthy friendship. You're well on your way. When you have those elements in the foundation of your relationship, when you've already identified the values that you hold close in your core, trust is the biggest part of that foundation. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much for listening today. And we look forward to you joining us for other podcasts. Please spread the word that we are here.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It's so fun to do this every week. Thank you.